No more days to Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. No more days to Halloween, Silver Shamrock. Hey, folks! Good morning to you all. Yes, it is now October 31st, the festival of Samhain, and the hills will run red with the blood of animals and children. Well, not with the COVID lockdown restrictions, it won't be. Hey, Boris Johnson. Folks, how are you all? Hope you're doing very well. Yes, it is now Halloween. I have just started recording after a thunderous downpour. I did say in a previous video that the weather was really set to be rather nasty this weekend, this Halloween weekend. And it is blowing a real hoolie out there. Now, we don't mind that. The wind, it'd be great rattling round the rafters and all that, and the eaves and the trees and everything blowing blustery, leaves everywhere. You want that. You don't want the rain. The rain puts a big dampener on things, does it not? Anyway, folks, this, as the title would suggest, is a recap of part 2 of Kilt-Man's Horrorthon for Halloween 2020. And what did we get through last night? Was it another all-nighter? Not quite, because I did flag real good style towards the end. In fact, I started flagging way before the end. But, hey, you know, I soldiered on. Bravo. If you saw my video on that mask there, the Boris Karloff 1931 Frankenstein mask, Frankenstein's monster mask, I said one thing about I wasn't sure if that scar was placed correctly there. It is, because the first film I watched in my Horrorthon yesterday was, Nightmare on Elm Street. No. It was James Whale's 1931 masterpiece of Frankenstein. And I did look closely. I've got a million images as well there. I've got a great book, which is the actual screenplay, and it's totally illustrated all the way through. In fact, it is the film in pictures. You know, it's just like a movie novel, and many close-ups of that scar and its positioning. So, yeah, Justin Maybe, you got that right, mate. It was the one thing I had a bit of a slight quibble about. So, what did we watch last night? Well, let's try and get them in the right order. Well, obviously, Frankenstein, the first one. I kind of had to stop myself from going on to Bride of Frankenstein as well, because I might watch that today. Because I enjoy that film far more. The comedy is there, and it doesn't overpower the horror and the pathos and the tragedy and the enormity, the epic concept of bringing a mate into the world for this guy and all that sort of gubbins. But anyway, I stopped myself there. What did we go on to then? Oh, this is the wrong order, because my daughter wanted to watch this as well, and I had mentioned it in the previous Horrorthon video that I was going to do it. Drag Me to Hell, the unrated extended director's cut, Sam Raimi. And it is, of course, a marvellous modern day reworking of M.R. James's Casting the Runes, which was filmed by Jacques Tourneur in the 50s as Night of the Demon, an absolute classic, which I love that. And it works really well. You know, she works in a bank. Alison Lohman works in the bank. She wants a big promotion, but she's told, you know, to be more ruthless and like make decisions for herself. So rather stupidly, she denies a bank extension loan on a poor gypsy woman who's going to lose her house. A gypsy woman living in a house? What kind of world is this? And because of that, she puts the curse of the Lamia upon Alison. And that's her real name. Her name in the film. What is the name in the film? I can't remember. Christine Brown. And well, it's been a long night. You know, my memory, it's just flittering away. And so then, of course, Sam Raimi has carte blanche to use his dizzying, vertigo-inducing cameras again. Lots of shadow play. This goat gypsy demon thing. She's got 3 days. It's got a possession of hers, which is cursed, and she's got to pass out to someone else within the 3 days, otherwise she'll be dragged to hell. Justin Long plays her boyfriend, doing a really, really good David Schwimmer impersonation. And there's a lot. It's not the most gruesome and savage of movies, but there is a lot of nasty stuff in it. a typical Sam Raimi penchant or penchant, eyeballs flying through the air. There's lots of close-ups of vomiting things and like things going into people's noses, and it is great. There's a lot of Tex Avery style violence in it as well, but it is kind of cozy. It's got 101 jump scares in it. Some people don't like that sort of thing. It's too obvious. It's too, that's too easy. But when they're done well, they're done well, and it obviously works. And I think it works great. I love the film to bits. A tremendously vigorous score from Christopher Young as well, who's an absolute maestro with blending beauty, eeriness, and all-out ball-bashing horror. Fantastic score, and a lovely poetic ending as well, because it doesn't have a happy ending. And I love it. And the woman who plays Mrs. Ganesh, who's the gypsy woman who keeps reappearing in various states of decomposition and plays a huge part in the movie as well, like even after she's died. She is fantastic, and a really grisly, gnarly old, creature feature as well. Great film, love it to bits. What did we do after that? So we had Frankenstein, then we had Drag Me to Hell. Then we plumped for a bit of Hammer horror. But what did we go for this time? Well, we went for the, some would say misstep, Blood from the Mummy's Tomb in the early 70s. Valerie Leon, big, bodacious Valerie Leon, is basically the reincarnation of an Egyptian princess who's had a hand hacked off. The hand has a life of its own, goes walkies. And the curse, of course, the reincarnation wants life. Her father, Andrew Keir, has the sarcophagus in his basement, as you do, from that doomed excavation trip that they had out on the Elstree Studios, standing in for the pyramids of Egypt. And obviously all sorts of bloody mayhem ensue, because Valerie Leon, who's the voluptuous daughter, who's a dead ringer for the girl that's lying totally undecomposed in the sarcophagus down below. And people aren't going, you look just like her. And she was born at the same time as they uncovered the tomb. So, the link, the psychic link is there. And it's based on Bram Stoker's rather misguided and not very satisfying novel, The Jewel of the Seven Stars, which is also a version that's filmed with Charlton Heston as The Awakening, sort of. And it doesn't really hang together that well, but it's got some great set pieces in it. You've got there's a huge protracted sequence of a guy who's from the dig, who's gone mad, and he's in an asylum where he's mistreated by some of the staff there. And you've got, this was like, early 70s, maybe even 1970 itself, and you've got two quite clearly gay orderlies who beat up and abuse this patient, but then go off together for their own fun and games. And that's in a Hammer movie, but this guy, when the curse hits him, you're talking literally, I think it's about a 9-minute long set piece of him assailed by the shadow of a sphinx-like Egyptian cat prowling around the room, and all hell breaks loose, and it just goes on forever and becomes a mini movie in its own right. But you've got the villainous James Villiers, who is one of those very stiff upper-lipped and very clipped speech, but clearly what he would normally play, a government grey man, a minister, an official, a complete and utter twat, and he's nothing less than a complete and utter twat in this as well. But he's great. He's a colourful, eccentric character to have in there. Sadly, the film was really dogged with misfortune. Only a couple of days into filming, Peter Cushing, who was meant to be playing the Andrew Keir role of the father of Valerie Leon, the reincarnation, he got news that his wife Helen was gravely ill, and he left the set, and he never returned because she died very shortly afterwards, and he never recovered from that shock. It's a horribly tragic story, that, and you can see in the films that Peter Cushing made afterwards how he completely changed. He still gave 150% performance, but he was a broken man whose soul had been snuffed within him, and it is tragic to watch it. But so he was replaced by Andrew Keir, who'd been in Quatermass in the Pit. And I like Andrew Keir, he's very Bruce. Although he spends half the film, absolutely just asleep, or with his eyes wide open, but totally in a coma because of what's happened to him down below in the basement as well. Won't go into it all. But the director, Seth Holt, died as well. And he died towards the end of the film, but they hadn't finished. So head honcho of Hammer, Michael Carreras, stepped in and finished on the last days of filming. Valerie Leon, who is full of character. She's a voluptuous woman, but she's got great screen presence as well. And she's great as the daughter, but she's also, when she's possessed by the Egyptian princess, she has this regal, arrogant quality, which is just death to everybody. You fuck with me, you're gonna die. And it's great to see her transitions there. She was sadly unable to go to the funeral of Seth Holt because of filming commitments, but she got on really well with him, and she's often said, how remorseful she is that she could never go there. So it's a film fraught with behind the scenes troubles and strife, and the film itself does appear broken, and it's not a complete. Is that a microwave I can hear in the background? Good Lord! The interruptions, meteorological interruptions, microwavial interruptions. What's next? A monster moving in on the screen? It's okay, you're allowed. But it has some great set pieces to it, and a great sort of back streets of London with the mist swirling around it as well, which is great. And the hero, who's a complete Noel Edmonds lookalike, that must have been the look at the time. The sort of highlighted short, fluffy blonde hair, and that little really designer, beard, which he has adopted ever since. Noel Edmonds I'm talking about there. But this guy, whose name I've forgotten, I don't think he made much after it, to be honest. They kill him off in a rather tacked on, rather shitty element where he's meant to be the hero, and I admire the fact that they subvert what you expect to happen, that he's going to save the day, and that he and the daughter, Valerie Leon, will go off into the sunset and be happy together after having vanquished the evil. But it doesn't work out like that, because this was the 70s, and things, even Hammer was realising, you can't just wrap things up. After Night of the Living Dead, you can't have happy endings anymore. You've got to be a bit more realistic. People don't just go off into the sunset and live together merrily afterwards. But so he gets killed, and in a car crash, but it's crap, and you're kind of rooting for him, and then he's gone. You're like, oh shit, and it does deflate the film somewhat, and then you're left with a bit of ambiguity at the end after in a loving touch. Valerie Leon is swathed in bandages like a mummy, but her eyes are open. But you're left thinking, is that the Egyptian princess, or is that Valerie Leon, the daughter? You don't know. But it's okay, it's hokey enough, and it whiles away the time, and there's a fair bit of eye candy in it, of course. And who doesn't love swinging London, late 60s, early 70s? Come on! Well, I wouldn't know, because I wasn't around. And we finished off. Yeah, I know, I don't think I did as many movies last night as I did the night before. But here's one which I hadn't even suspected I would pick. I did say in the last video, I used to go on the shelves and just go, what's that? Oh. Put that back. But I found this and I thought, Sleepwalkers. This is the Mick Garris, Stephen King movie. Stephen King, for the first time, and I think might actually be the only time he's ever done it, he wrote an entire screenplay for the screen, for the movie. Not like an adaptation of one of his earlier works, or a movie adaptation of one of his stuff which he hadn't done. This is he actually wrote the screenplay for this movie. I made that sound really far more confusing than it ought to have been. I do apologise, but it's been a long night, and Kilt-Man without any sleep can just carry on regardless. And this takes the idea that it's a spin on the vampire myth and kind of werewolf myth as well, that there's a race of supernatural sleepwalkers who are cat people. So I watched Cat People, the original, the other night, and the cat theme has definitely been carried on. Alice Krige, the Borg Queen, and from Ghost Story and many others, she's wonderful, Alice Krige, and her son have an incestuous relationship, because a bit like cat people, they've got to be together, sort of thing. But even though they go from town to town and they've got to find a virgin, to suck the life force out of them to sustain themselves with immortality. Who makes these rules up? Like, Good luck coming to this town. Ain't no fucking virgins around here, I can guarantee you that. And but so they move from town to town, her and her son infiltrates the high school and targets Majin Amick, which sounds like a spell, doesn't it? Majin Amick. And she is lustrously gorgeous. He puts the moves onto her, and he's very charismatic, but really he's a cat person. So he puts the moves on her. The local police department get involved with a bunch of bumbling deputies. They always, small town America, Norman Rockwell style little town which gets infiltrated by evil, and lots of blood and chaos then ensues. You've got what's his name, Hellboy, Ron Perlman as well, playing some kind of state trooper in this, but he's a pain in the ass, like all the coppers are. Like, Majin Amick fights back a bit. She's not quite your typical just fall over, final girl. She does do a bit of fighting back towards the end, but this is Alice Krieg's movie. As this gorgeous mother, she defends her son when her son's been battered and he's dying. She puts her life force into him as well to sustain him, and then she goes out on the rampage to go and get that girl whose life force he now needs to live again. And she just lays waste to all the cops in the vicinity, beats up Majin Amick's mum and dad. She half transforms and uses her claws on a few people, and then she goes on full transformation. And this is a film from 1992, I think it is, and the CG is, well actually, some of it's not too bad, some of it's very bad for the full-on transformations, but there are moments of a quick morph from human face to this big puffy cat-like thing. They're like cat alien beings, really. And there's a couple of the scenes where that works really well, but the finale will have Alice Krieg in a full-on KNB manufactured bodysuit, which is, from there up it's okay. The mask itself is good, but the bodysuit can't help but look rubbery. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's unexpectedly nasty and gory, and there's a hell of a lot of pussy in this movie, if you pardon my expression. This film is festooned with felines. Moggies are everywhere. Little hairy growlers. I know. I went there. He loves them, he does. He can't get enough of them. Don't know where he got that from. Because even though these are cat people, they're natural enemies, their nemesis in life are real pussycats. But cats are drawn to them as well. So their house, where they're living in this town, having moved from Bodega Bay, I think the film starts off in, with Detective Mark Hamill. Yes, Luke Skywalker in one of many cameo appearances in this movie, which I'll come on to in a minute. They've moved on, but outside that house at the start of the film, you find all cats hanging there, lots of dead cats. What the hell is going on? And a desiccated corpse on the inside. So what they've done, they've sucked the life force out of this person and then moved on to another town to find another virgin. And cats gravitate towards their house. So throughout the movie, you see increasingly more moggies outside on the lawn, and they've set like man traps up, or pussy traps, whatever you call them. And it's gleefully nasty towards puddy tats, but the puddy tats are the winners as well. And one of the deputies has a cat that rides in his car with him called Clovis, played by a cat called Sparks. And he gets killed, but the cat saves Majin Amick's character, Tanya, from the first attack of this, what's his name, Bobby or something, I can't know what his name is now, but the cat lad. And so they realise, look, cats are the enemies. And there's a great sequence towards the end where all the cats, Clovis has now led a legion of cats through the streets, and in slow motion they're all running towards this house for this big fairy finale where they're going to lay siege to the place after the cops all get killed. Limbs are shattered, eyeballs are plucked out, heads are banged together, there's a cop impaled on the railings, the fence posts. Oh, it's gleefully gruesome in places, and you're like, yeah, keep it coming. But whenever the cats attack them, steam and smoke rises off these cat people. And it's great, it is great. The film has cameos again. You've got director John Landis, American Wealth is in there. You've got Clive Barker in there, you've got Stephen King himself in there, and you've got Joe Dante in there. And it's wonderful that, look, let's be honest, the best actor amongst them is John Landis. John Landis, you believe him. You know it's John Landis pissing about, but you still believe him playing that character. So, but the rest of them, you kind of like, oh dear, you just shoehorned in there. And Mick Garris's direction it's okay, it's pedestrian. But Mick Garris and Stephen King were kind of like that for many years, weren't they? He started doing all he did The Stand and The Shining and I've got something else, but and other things as well. But I don't think I've not liked much of his stuff, Mick Garris, but I do like Sleepwalkers. I enjoy it because it's a small story, but it thinks big. You know, this whole concept of these supernatural creatures wreaking havoc throughout the centuries around the world, and because of them we have the vampire myth. I like it. There's another curious aspect to it as well. Although they suck the life force out of people, and it looks just like in Toby Hooper's awesome movie Life Force, which I have reviewed, where there's a string of lights coming from people's mouths and they suck the life force in. Well, that's employed here, but they have the ability to make themselves invisible as well. Although they can morph whenever they want into whatever shape they want, they can make objects and things go invisible or change colour. Like his car, his Corvette or whatever the hell it is. I don't know, Mad Max vehicles, I don't know, real life vehicles. And you can make it change colour so the police can't find it. And then with a bit of extra power, you can make yourself and your vehicle go invisible. So there's all these little tricks that they've got, which don't really add up, but it adds a bit of extra oomph to the proceedings. Another curious element is the use of Enya's song, how do you pronounce this? She was the queen of the Iceni tribe of Celts who fought against the Romans in Britain. And it was a doomed uprising, but it was a big one, Boudicca, I grew up when she was called Boudicca. Now people call it Boudica or Boudica. And famously riding a chariot, to the white cliffs of Dover. They always film her like that. Nothing that ever actually happened. But she fought against the Romans, and I think she poisoned herself in the end as well. See, you get more than just film reviews and a bit of idle chit-chat. You get a history lesson from Kilt-Man. And they play at the opening and at the end credits of the movie, they play Enya's song, Boudica. And it's great, it's haunting, it's a haunting track. I'm not a fan of Enya, by the way. Pretty little pixie girl that she is, but I don't really like her stuff. That Orinoco flow, fucking hell. That is one of the worst things I've ever heard in my entire life. But this track, Boudica, seems to work with it. I've got no idea why it's there. Apparently Mick Garris did approach Crowded House, who's a big fan of, and he showed him the film, and Crowded House said, look, we can offer you a song here. So they made a song and gave it to him, but they say they gave it to him. People on the production team couldn't afford the rights to buy it, so in the end, he plumped for this Boudica. And even though I'm not sure what the point of it is, it's a moody, haunting theme, and it does work. I like it a lot. Maybe it's because it's down to pussy, isn't it? It's women fighting back. The whole thing's about virgins and cats, and Boudica was a warrior, priestess, fertility rites and cults of the druids and all this sort of stuff. So maybe that's kind of a loose connection there. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I mean, to be honest, this could still be a dream, because I slumped asleep in the chair towards the end of this, actually of Sleepwalkers, towards the end of Sleepwalkers. That was that, wasn't it? And then I woke up in the kitchen looking for whiskey. Oh, how did I get here? But there's no cats around here. Guarantee you that. Big husky dog though. And maybe that's why there's no cats around here. Methinks. So, folks, there you go. That was the run-up. It was the original Frankenstein, 1931. Your magnum opus. It was then Drag Me to Hell. Then it was Blood from the Mummy's Tomb, which, yeah, I enjoyed it. It has elements of fun. There's the makings of a good story there, but it's fractured, it's broken, it doesn't make narrative sense. But then again, the source novel didn't either. So, but it's a valiant attempt, fraught with difficulties behind the scenes. So the fact that he got the movie out there, and it's Hammer in its ailing days as well, or the beginning, the onset of its, its demise, got to admire it. Sleepwalkers. A lot more fun than it should be. A lot more fun. So that wasn't a bad little haul there. Throughout today, I have no idea what I'm going to watch. Again, I've not lined up the films for tonight. We all know what should be in there. Obviously, a Michael Myers movie should be in there. Well, a John Carpenter Michael Myers movie. Let's forget the fucking rest of them. And I'm playing Halloween 3 at the moment there. John Carpenter and Alan Howarth. Your anthem. And I don't know. I think another good film, maybe. I want to watch Exorcist 3 because I think it's just tremendous, powerful, eerie. Nightmare on Elm Street, I always seem to want to watch that. Poltergeist. God, do you know what? I don't know. There's so many. I wanted to shoehorn Evil Dead 2 in, and Wolfen, and American Werewolf in London, and there's not enough hours. There's not enough hours in the day, because at some point after this, I'm going to have to go to the land of Nod and try to recharge the batteries. Recharge the batteries? Isn't that what they do to you? Oh, God. No sense of humour, these resurrectees. So folks, anyway, there you go. That was part 2 of Kilt-Man's Halloween Horrorthon 2020. The year of that thing which I don't want to talk about. Yay! Anyway, folks, in the meantime, and this ongoing festival of blood, meantime, in between time and time again, time after time to die. I'm going to see you all later. I can't reach the stop button.